Welcome to the monthly meeting for May for reports from the various committees in this workshop. And I'm going to get right into it, and I'll call on the first committee chairman, Mr. Miller, for the ACC.
Bob had the mic, so you should have let him go first. We had requests for 5 new homes for last month. All of them were approved. We had 6 requests for special extensions on patios and what have you, and all of those were approved. One of the things that I like that's happening right now, people are making the request for new homes or what have you, and they're going through as they need to. They're being finished. Nobody's asking for extensions. Everything seems to be working pretty good. Is that not working? Is that better?
You get closer. I can't hear.
Okay. Turn your hearing aids up. Or did you forget to bring them? We had one special request for a variance to one of the units, someone wanting to get a request, and it was Ms. Ledbetter, she is here, to allow her lot to have native growth on it. We reviewed it. We made a and this is not settled at this point, and I need some clarification on it. We reviewed it as we have always done in the past. We made a decision and passed it off to the board. The board sent it back to us with a request that 2 board members, one being Doug Green, and someone else, myself and Brent Hamilton, call a special meeting with the 4 of us and make that ruling ourselves. That's not the way it has been done in the past, and I can not find anyone that has changed that other than just we were told to do that. And the other thing is that, according to Bob, is a CNR and can't be changed because that's...
It can be changed, but only by the developer.
Okay. I should have put that in.
She wants a variance to the CNR, not by law, not rule, not policy. CNR, which is recorded by the developer. My understanding, only the developer can change what he recorded. That may not be true, but that's my understanding.
Okay, and that's where we stand on that at the moment. I need someone to clarify that for me as to why it got changed, how it got changed, who changed it, and what should we do in the future. That's my report.
All right, thank you, Mr. Miller. Michael, do you want to comment on that as to what the procedure is normally?
The procedure that you were referring to is how we do it with safety and security appeals. And so we are under the assumption that the same process would take place for ACC appeals. But we will get together, and if that's never happened before, then it'll go before the whole board.
Okay. It has not, it's always in the past, ACC did their review and recommendations. The board handled it from there. And now it appears to be changed.
I'm familiar with how security handles it, and that certainly has nothing to do with CNRs. But I believe this is a request for a variance from CNR. And if that be the case, and that's what was shown to me a while ago, then the board has nothing to do with it, nor the association. That belongs to the developer who recorded it to begin with. And that makes sense that the developer establish certain restrictions on what is done so that it doesn't reduce the value of what he's trying to sell in the future. Ed, is that correct? The CNRs are recorded?
Yes, and I believe that CNRs can be changed, like if they canvass every person that with the same CNR
That
and
is
get
correct.
3/4 vote or something?
Every member of the association would have an opportunity to vote on the change to a CNR.
Well, everybody in that, with
No.
that same CNR.
No, it's the entire community. We've got a legal opinion that there's
Okay.
like 40-some-odd CNRs. All 40 get to vote on it.
Okay.
And
And
the
then,
lawyer has said that, the people in CNR number 1, whatever that is, they do not have the right to change what's in 1.
yeah,
All 40 have to vote on what's in 1.
Yeah, that's-
Because the other 41 people bought a property out here
Relying
with
on
the
it.
understanding that this is the way it's going to be of the entire in 1 and everywhere else.
yeah.
So everybody gets to vote on that, and the lawyers have given us that opinion. It's about 4 or 5 years old, I think, but we've got that in writing somewhere.
But would this be the same as a variance on changing the direction of the garage door?
No, because that may be a rule and regulation. I'm not sure.
Okay.
If that is a CNR, if the CNR addresses which way the doors open up, whether they're front or back or side or whatever,
They do.
if a variance is from that, then they have to change the CNR. But as I understand it, this has to do with the cleaning a lot or mowing the grass on a lot or something, wanting it to be native plants. I do not know what the CNR says. But if it says grass can only be a foot high, then that has to be the way it is, or you get the CNR changed. CNRs have been changed by the developer. There was one over somewhere around Orchard 11. Somebody had a fence that they didn't like it, or they wanted to put it in a certain place. They got the developer to actually grant a variance to the fence restriction that was recorded in the CNR. It has been done that way in the past, provided you can get the developer, wants to do it. Now, whether the developer would address the issue of this particular one, I have no idea. But it's not the board's responsibility. It's not the association's responsibility. Everybody out here bought their property fully knowledgeable of what the CNRs are. They're not any secret. You sign them when you buy your land, and they apply to you, or they apply to everybody.
Any other discussion? Any other questions for Mr. Miller? All right, thank you very much. I appreciate that. We'll look further into that and talk to you, Jim. Okay.
It doesn't make any difference to me which way we do it. We just need to do it like it's supposed to be.
Gotcha. Okay. The next committee is bylaws, and Mr. Maurer.
Thank you, Mr. President. Bylaws did not meet in May. As of right now, there's a pretty good chance we will meet in June. There is a DCR RR-16-04-001 initiated by Chairman of the Golf Committee, and it would affect Rules and Regulations Section 7.2.2C relating to how much time you have to give the golf management notice of cancellation. In my understanding, this DCR is going to be assigned to the Bylaws Committee by the Board Secretary. Until that is done, we have no responsibilities concerning this matter, and I'm monitoring the website, and I've been assured that whenever the Board Secretary fulfills his obligations under the procedure for DCRs, that it'll be posted on the website, and then I'll see it. Then we'll call a formal board meeting. committee meeting to review that. There's also been discussion of changes to committee resolutions. I think sports and, who is it? Not sports. Entertainment has asked about a change to their committee resolution. And me personally, I consider the committee resolutions governing documents, just like policy statements, just like rules and regulations, just like bylaws. And therefore a change to a committee resolution would require a DCR. Whether or not it has to be reviewed by bylaws would be up to the board secretary, but that's just my opinion. I think we've had committee resolutions in the past that have not been changed using a DCR, but I don't see any reason why they shouldn't be. The other thing that's been brought up at one of the committee meetings is all of the committee resolutions need to be essentially consistent in that the following specific items should be addressed. How is the chairman picked? How is the vice chairman picked? How many members are in the committee? Who can vote? Is there a board rep? Can he vote? Those kind of cookbook items about a committee would be followed by a description of what the committee does. If that, and I think that sounds good to me to have that. We've got, 30 committees, 20, whatever. There's no reason why they can't all start off the same way. This committee chairman will be, this committee vice chairman will be, this committee can have this many, etc. Cookbook stuff, get that out of the way. Then you can go into this committee is in charge of playing tennis or whatever they play. That would require a DCR, but I really think the board needs to initiate that DCR and change all of them at the same time. Don't do them one at a time. Let's get them all done at one time. That's just my recommendation. Has no power other than a recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Meyer. Question for you. We normally refer such recommendations to the appropriate committee. Would that committee be the bylaws committee to make that recommendation?
I really don't think the bylaws committee ought to initiate a DCR because in many cases they're going to be in the reviewing, and I don't think they ought to be the originator and then the reviewer later on. I think the board should get the general manager to initiate a DCR. It can be one DCR with, no, it can't be with one. It's got to be all of them, each one. I don't know if you could get them combined into one or not, Michael. Whatever you need. I don't think the bylaws committee ought to get involved in initiating changes to the governing documents, but I think they ought to be substantially in. Let me just talk about something else. It's my business. The DCR procedure that Carla and I spent, I guess, about a year preparing, I was vitally involved in it. I think it has a flaw in it. And I'll admit that I was involved in establishing that flaw. And the flaw is the DCR goes to the board secretary, one person, who decides whether anybody else should ever look at that DCR before the board sees it. And that gives one person power to prevent any change to any rule or any regulation. He can't change the bylaws. That requires a membership vote. Or he can decide he doesn't want to change it and the issue dies. But I don't think the governing documents should be able to be changed by one individual. I don't care if he is the board secretary. I think every DCR should have more than at least one review, and I really don't know the best way to change the DCR procedure, but I think it needs to be changed to where one person doesn't have control. And that would be a bylaws committee, DCR. If the board, I really would like to meet with the board sometime on one of their Monday morning sessions and discuss that and see what the board's feeling is about that. I don't think the bylaws committee wants to do something that the board objects to, but I think the board needs to get involved in how the DCR procedure is written. No, that's that, and then back to your other question, which was, sorry, I forgot about it. Who starts the DCR on all the committee resolutions? You know, I really don't see why we have to have every committee chairman start one, but, you know, that would be one way to do it, but I'd rather get them all done at once, myself. The board can start the DCR, or a board member can start the DCR on changing the committee resolution. Thank you.
Okay, all right, we'll talk further about it and see about making some changes.
Yeah, could I make a comment? I think this is an unusual situation, and so on, where in other instances, if there was going to be a recommendation for a change in a bylaw affecting a particular committee, it should originate with the committee, and then the bylaws committee should recommend to the board whether or not it is an appropriate change. So that's kind of the normal way. But in this situation, when you've made an observation that would affect the rules governing all the committees, then that's, I think that's a singular type of process. And so I don't think that the manager should make that recommendation. I think maybe the subcommittee of the board might be challenged to do that, but then when we make that recommendation, it should go to bylaws and have bylaws determine whether it's an appropriate change.
Well, that's what I said.
Yeah.
I think the board should initiate the request, and I certainly would have no problem with the bylaws committee being asked to review that DCR. But as far as starting that DCR, I think that's the board's function. I think the board should do that since it addresses, well, now there are some committees that are established in the bylaws, and nobody can change those except the membership vote. That would be the, ACC, Finance, Bylaws. I don't know what other committees in there. I'm not sure. I know those three are in the bylaws, and the only bylaws can be changed by member vote. All the other committees are established under what I call committee resolutions.
And I think that your observation is correct. I support it. It's the general standardization of all of our committee processes, and I think we should do that. I agree with you, Bob.
Any further discussion anywhere?
Any other questions?
Doug, back to you, Doug.
All right, thank you, Mr. Meyer. Let's see, let's go to the Finance Committee now, Mr. Brazon.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Finance Committee met yesterday at its regularly scheduled time. We reviewed 4 authorizations for expenditure. The first one is AFE 16-02-01 for drainage modifications at 9816 Bell Chase Road, and that was presented by Daniel Van Patten. This project involves complete replacement of the downstream side of the currently collapsing drainage pipe system. The committee approved this AFE unanimously for presentation to the board in the amount of $95,378, which is what the engineering company has given as an estimate for making these changes. That can change during the course of the project. Combined with the engineering study costs, the final cost of this project should be around $112,357, assuming no changes are made. I added in the engineering cost to get to that figure, and that's the actual from the capital expenditures report. That's the actual amount that was spent on the engineering, whatever it is, the difference between 95,378 and the 112,357. The next AFE was AFE 16-02-02 for drainage modifications at 8921 Bontura, also presented by Daniel. To prevent water from overtopping the road and to keep the shoulders and road intact, the current non-functioning drainage pipe will be replaced with a new 36-inch reinforced concrete pipe under the road. That AFE was unanimously approved for presentation to the board in the amount of $37,674. Combined with the engineering study cost, the final cost of this project should be, again, $44,974, assuming no changes are made during the project. Next AFE is AFE 16-02-04 for an engineering study to replace and widen the front entrance roadway from the bridge to Fall Creek Highway, also presented by Daniel. This failing and rapidly deteriorating roadway will be completely replaced, as was done on Westover Drive. The engineering study will also consider the best way to widen the road as it approaches the gate to alleviate backups during peak periods and heavy visitor traffic on holidays. The AFE was unanimously approved for presentation to the board in the amount of $31,825. Again, that's for the engineering study to determine what needs to be done to accomplish what we need to do. Finally, we have AFE 16-10-11 for a replacement ice machine at the marina, also presented by Daniel. The current machine is just beyond its useful life and not worth repairing, and we certainly can't do without an ice machine at the marina. So that AFE was unanimously approved for presentation to the board in the amount of $32,500. No, that's not right. $3,250, right? No?
Woke me up.
I don't know where I got that number from. Sorry. Sorry about that.
These guys make a report. I can't get
Yeah.
put it in.
They'll check. Sorry about that. Moving on to financials, Janishevsky reported that for February 2016, revenues exceeded expenses by $62,690 versus a budget of $63,273 for a negative variance to budget of just $583. In other words, we came in pretty good. Year-to-date, revenues have exceeded expenses by $212,642 versus a budget of $63,174 for a positive variance to budget of $144,468. The current year-end forecast projection for fiscal year 2016 now stands at a net income of $75,987. And that completes my report.
All right, thank you. Any questions or comments?
I thought the road outside the front gate, security building belonged to the Anthonys. Is that not correct? No. Okay, so I'm wrong.
My understanding is that the property there belongs to the Anthonys, but there's a road easement of some 100 feet or so.
Okay. All right.
Direction. Okay. Anything else?
That's it.
All right. let's see, we need a report from the long-range planning. Tom, do you have just a brief summary of that?
Yes, the Long Range Planning Committee did meet. The chairman, Chairman Kreis, reviewed the long-range planning report and distributed them to the members of the committee. He went through each person's area that's on the committee to sort of get a status update on each area. There were no votes or anything like that, and he sort of set the tone for the coming year's activities of the committee. That's pretty much it.
All right. Thank you very much. Any questions or comments for Tom? All right. Thank you. The other committee that reports to the board is the LINMO committee. And I don't...
We had I'm on... John didn't provide you... LINMO committee did meet and approved a motion to recommend to the board that we request an extension for the option for the 200 acres that will be expiring otherwise in November. The committee approved the recommendation, and so I'm sure that Mr. Jacob plans to bring that to the board meeting.
All right, sir. Thank you. Any questions? One other committee that's in the formative stages is the audit committee. Mr. Carnes, do you have any additional information on that?
Should be on. We did not need to set up a meeting to discuss
The audit committee did not meet. We'll be scheduling a meeting shortly.
All right, sir. Thank you very much. That's the committees that report to the board, and Michael will call for reports of the additional committees.
Thank you, Mr. President. Why don't we start out with infrastructure and Sam Watts.
Thank you, Michael. The infrastructure committee met on May 3rd with one new member showing up. Actually, this meeting was before the board, so the committee wasn't approved, but we will have 12 members on the committee this next year, up from 10, and I think in the future that's about the max number. When you get past too much past 10, it's difficult to control the committee. Marlon Ernest will be working on a new area assignments for our members to reflect the 12 members, and hopefully by the next meeting we'll have some organization to it and get those area assignments out and members start working on them. We opened the bids for the Bonterra Bell Chase project, as Tom had said on the AFEs. There were 3 bidders for those projects. I think there were 5 packages sent out, is that correct? And 3 returned. Gibson's Earthworks, Kicking A, and Division 31. And Kicking A came in as the low bidder for both projects, so we will go with Kicking A. We will have this week a meeting with the county commissioners, and in fact I think it's today, and other interested parties to discuss drainage issues and how the county commissioner can help us deal with the developer and the builders, and just a general discussion on what we can do, what we need to do, and what our alternatives are. We talked briefly, the Long-Range Planning Committee had tasked the Infrastructure Committee with forming a subcommittee on the third entrance, and I brought up the subject in our committee, and it was not received well. So I'm kind of back to square one on the third entrance. There is not a lot of interest in our group. We have discussed it before several years ago, and there's a lot of obstacles to the third entrance. Part of it is the overall price that we might have to undertake, but we will study it, and we will have a subcommittee on it to get all the pros and cons and see where we go from there. And the rest of the meeting was taken up with organizational issues, and our next meeting will be, I guess, next week. So, thank you.
Thank you, Sam. Any comments, questions for infrastructure? Okay, let's go on to Airport Committee. Ray Lewis.
The Airport Committee met on May 17th. We previously had a no set time for the meeting. We adopted the second Wednesday of each month at 8 a.m. as a regular meeting date. And as luck would have it, the first month we're going to have to violate that next month. But we're going to work at it anyway and try to get something predictable. Joe Sasser agreed to be the vice chair of the committee. We have two new members, continuing my belief that we need to have more involvement within the community all around, whether it be on the board or long-range planning or other things I've been involved with. I reached out and tapped two new people to be on the Airport Committee this year in order to bring in some new thinking and broader perspective and maintain some of the others that give us the institutional memory. I think we'll have a good committee and a lot of work to do. I want to publicly thank Daniel for continuing to do an outstanding job of support and maintenance for all of our facilities around here. We discussed a number of issues, minor things, with one exception, and we have some kind of drainage coming into the parking area for the airport, and there's a source of water uphill somewhere that no one's been able to find, but it's keeping it just being a loblolly down there where you can't even park a golf cart through there, much less an airplane. So we've got to find a way to stop that drainage issue before we come up with our fly-in and those kind of things. You can't even mow it right now. We're going to have to cone it off. So that's one of the ongoing things we've got to resolve. We were reported that we have made some painstakingly slow progress on our GPS approach so that we can get an instrument procedure into Pecan to improve safety and dependability of arriving at our airport. We don't have a projection yet, but at least it's back on path to be moving. And we had some other routine issues to be dealt with, but overall, looking forward to a good year. Thank you.
Comments, questions? Mr. Kamen.
Ray, I have a question. It was brought to my attention that the north run-up pavement is susceptible to damage because uniquely susceptible to damage because the heavy ambulances use that when we have a helicopter evacuation.
Correct.
Has the airport committee looked at that to determine whether we need to put a heavier base and repave that?
Yes, we discussed that. I didn't report on it because we don't have the results yet, but we discussed that with Daniel and the committee, and we agreed to look into paving, perhaps with concrete, at least the northern half of that circle, because not only the airport, there's appears to be some base deterioration causing asphalt to break down, and with the fact that you have fire trucks and ambulances, et cetera, coming into there, we felt like rather than just go back and do the same thing over again, that we'd try to improve it. So we'll see what the cost of that is and decide whether we want to attempt to go forward, but that's our effort anyway.
Any other comments or questions?
One comment on the drainage issue here. We're seeing this all over Pecan, and part of the problem is we live on a rock shelf, and with the record rainfall we had last year and what we're seeing this year is that a lot of the water has percolated down to that rock shelf, and it's springs. You know, that's basically what you call it, and we're seeing it all over this. I'm seeing it out at our ranch outside of town, that water's running where it's never run probably in our lifetimes. So, you know, I don't know the solution. There's probably not a solution, but it's something that we'll monitor it and just make sure you don't have a mud leak like I've got in my front yard. But, you know, bring it to our attention, and we can monitor some of these things. Some of them we may never fix, but they are all over Pecan right now.
I appreciate that statement, and I agree with you that we may not. There is a Orchard water pipeline, as I understand it. Is that right, Daniel? Running north area of that across there, and it's not metered, and therefore nobody can tell whether it sprung a leak or not. I don't know whether there's mud, but is it possible to just sample that water for chlorine and find out if it's mud water? Would it show up would the chlorine content show up if that were mud water?
I was told last year that mud can sample it and detect whether it's a spring or mud. Now, if it's water that's coming like the Orchard water, something where it's not treated, where there's not a chemical in it, then that's very difficult.
Daniel, I know you're working with mud on some of the other areas there. That's a question we might ask them if they could check that, just to eliminate one possibility.
The mud water line's on the opposite side of the lot. It's on the east side of the lot there.
So it wouldn't, the main pipeline, so it would have to be somebody's personal line leaking in order to be that.
But even if it's somebody's personal line, if they're connected to mud, they'll still have the chlorine detection in it. But I don't know of any other, unless you possibly sampled the groundwater, and I don't know that would prove to be anything either, because if it's a spring, it's rainfall that fell within the last month or so and then leach out into the earth and probably pick up the minerals.
Well, we can't solve that here, but I'll get with you and we'll discuss it.
Thank you, Mr. Lewis. Any other questions for the Airport Committee? Let's move on to Safety and Security. Ty Harper.
Safety and Security Committee met on May 18th, and we had one dispute for speeding that was upheld. We talked about some of the major events that happened in April. They involved, on the 2nd, we had a call from the FAA wanting security to check and see if a plane had landed because they had not completed their flight report. And it was there. It just learned some things from Dick about how that works, but it's one of the things that we get that a lot of people don't know about. We get calls from the FAA to make sure a flight was completed and everything was fine. On the 5th, we had a welfare check of somebody that wasn't answering the phone, and everything turned out all right. On the 10th, we had a major crash on Monticello where 2 people were care flighted out. On the 15th, we had the Friday garage sale, which has really been helpful for security. It's really reduced a lot of the Saturday traffic by people starting their garage sales for members on Friday. But we had people starting their garage sales at 11:30, which is a little early, and I had to follow up on that. It's hard to keep up with everybody wanting to get their garage sale going. On the 16th, we had an individual that was having problems with their medication, acting unstable. We ended up having to call 911 and get them out here. On the 17th, we had a dead beaver that had been run over on the front gate bridge, which is something that we haven't seen around here very much. The 18th, a house was hit by lightning, caught it on fire. They got it out before there was any major damage. It's just some of the things that we've had from all this rain and storms. Another crash, a minor crash on the 21st. Nobody was injured. We had continued to see the speeding tickets go down, a total of 33 citations in April. 24 of them were first-time speeding, and only 2 of them was their second-time speeding. So it seems like that's being effective. People are, if they get a ticket, they don't speed anymore. We had 4,300 calls at the security office in the month of April. And that concludes my report.
So Ty, with a reduced amount of tickets, is that still the same amount of patrols out there? We're just seeing people slowing down?
We're continuing the double patrols, and we're just not seeing people speeding. I've personally done patrols myself and am not seeing anybody going over 39 miles an hour. So that's good. I mean, there's still people speeding, and we're getting them occasionally, but it's way reduced.
Thank you, Mr. Harbert. Any questions for anybody?
I have a question.
Mr. Nyman?
Yeah, okay. You're saying they have 2 patrols out there. Well, you say we have 2 patrols out there at all times, correct?
No, I did not say that.
Oh, okay, you've reiterated before. Okay, are we back to 1 patrol mainly, or 2?
We've added 40 hours of patrol a week.
What does that give us as far as coverage of the number of patrol vehicles on the streets of Pecan at any given 8-hour shift?
40 hours a week, we'll have extra patrol.
So a week is, let's say, there's 24 hours times 7 is 28. 28, 10, so there's out of 98 hours, 106, how much?
162 hours.
All right, out of 162 hours, we have we only have 1 patrol for an extra 40 hours out of that 162 hours.
Right, we've added 40 hours of patrol that we did not have before, correct.
And this was added in
November.
Okay. So basically, we have 3 vehicles, 3 patrol vehicles. All right, we have the Ford and the 2 Kias. Correct. How come 2 out of those 3 sit in that lot probably a majority of the day?
It depends on when we have the extra patrol.
Okay, do we have a duty log or a patrol log as to when the patrols are done?
Yes, we do.
Are they available to a resident to see?
It depends on the situation.
Because I think we're back possibly to less patrols than we had. We're back towards the situation in November. I mean, you can sit on my street and we're not down from 160 tickets to 33 tickets because all of a sudden we got great compliance. I give up.
Mr. Nyman, I might suggest that you attend one of the safety and security meetings and, bring that up in that meeting and have a better, more concentrated audience at that time.
Any other questions for safety and security before we move on? Thank you, Mr. Hart.
I'd like to just make a comment. On April 16th, the day that we had the garage sale, we also had an event that brought 30 antique automobiles into Pecan in a parade line. And I was very pleased with the way security expedited their entry. And then after the dinner, you sent a patrol car with red and blue bar lights flashing, and they were very pleased to be let out without anybody getting lost. Last year, we had some folks get lost trying to get out, and they swear there's still a couple driving around Pecan. But we're very happy that you were able to help us do that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Kamen. Let's move on to entertainment and sports and rec with Brenda Palmer.
Thank you very much. Sports and rec, archery and air gun. The replacement of the shooting cover is progressing. Materials on order, delivery, installation expected mid-June, and they hope to have an open house sometime in early August. Plans are underway for a new monthly fun shoot, and the dates and times will be posted in the columns and at the range. The dog park. All is going well at the dog park. There was a problem with water pressure in the larger dog section, but that has been corrected. Thank you, Daniel. Picnic in the park was held on May 14th and was very well attended. That was our 5-year anniversary, so I think that was really neat. I didn't know it had been that long. Pickleball continues to grow. Results from the latest ladder league winners were Bob Moore, Ken Martin, Don McDonald, and Miles Broughton. That league is really progressing. I truly do not understand all the ins and outs of it, but it is very well represented. The group continues to attract new members, with some playing in the evenings and on weekends, as well as their daily scheduled times. So if anyone's interested, stop by the PAC and check out why everyone is moving in Pecan, because they really do break a sweat. Okay, tennis. There will be continue to be the junior tennis camp, and it will be held throughout the year. These camps are seeing an increase in the number of youth playing. This is very important for us to continue to attract the young people to tennis. It is a wonderful way to get them out there moving and sweating and having a good time. Summer camps are filling up, so call the tennis center. I do want to mention they have a new direct line. That new direct line, if anyone wants to make note, is 817-579-9412, and that is where you need to call to schedule your camps. PPTA will again be selling snow cones and trinkets at the 4th of July street dance. During the summer, there will be mixers with other clubs as far away as Paris, Texas, that is. I had to throw that in. And Bentry and many, many other places. So John has really increased our program beautifully. I'm very, very happy with it. They are planning a Wimbledon event this summer, and you can also see that things are really bouncing at the tennis center. Senior softball, the season is coming to an end, but if you're interested in playing, just show up on Monday mornings at 9 a.m. at least through Memorial Day. Campground. The pavilion is being used regularly by members for birthday parties, family reunions. There was a crawfish boil and even an RV rally, which just ended today. So it is getting use, and it was a very good amenity for Pecan. There is an issue with the roads in the park. They're deteriorating, and this issue is being reviewed by both Sports and Rec and Daniel Van Patten in hopes of finding the best solution for fixing them. I was, like I said, just there, and it's getting pretty rocky. The Birding Center. The Birding Center has gotten everything back in order. Please take an opportunity to stop by and spend a quiet moment looking at the beautiful nature that we have down in that area. The birds are fantastic. I've got some people sending pictures to Michael to show him what they found while they were down there. Donations of birdseed can be made through Burt Brogdon or any Brazos River Sportsman's Club member. Nature Trail. Our latest nature trail is now open and ready for hiking. Just drive or walk to the clubhouse, enjoy a stroll. Enter at the bench by the punty green, and it exits by the number 10 tee box. You really need to check that out. It is a little more aggressive, so know that going in. Community gardens. The subcommittee has decided to start a community garden club. just like everybody else, here comes one more club. But the purpose for that is to create a better interest in the project. They will focus on promoting sharing of plots instead of individual plots, and plans for fundraisers are underway. Publicity continues. Check the columns for more information. Our Fitness Center Subcommittee is continuing to work on the membership presentation, which should be coming out shortly. The PAC, May 27th is the last day of school in this area. So things will really be popping at the PAC and along our roadways, so please keep that in mind. Summer schedule is set and copies are available at the PAC. Be sure to stop by and pick one up so you can plan your children's or grandchildren's summer fun. The Missoula Children's Theater is July 25th through the July 30th. They will accept a maximum of 60 kids this year. So if you have a child or a grandchild you would like to be a member of this production this year, then you really need to get signed up. They will be there we go. There will also be slots for 4 assistant directors, and the age group for the children is entering 1st through 12th. And grandkids are definitely welcome. New kids event this year, which I'm really excited about, is the Kids Triathlon. This is a joint venture between the PAC and the YMCA. Junior division is ages 9 through 12. They will swim 50 yards, bike 2.5 miles, and run 3/4 of a mile. Not a bad start for kids, getting them out there. Registration deadline is June 15th. So please contact the PAC or check your columns for full details if you're interested in having your child or grandchild participate. Again, I'll say summer hours for the pools, May through August. The PAC pool is 6:30 a.m. to 8:30 p.m. May through August for the club pool hours are 9:30 to 8. Last but not least, our annual 4th of July parade is quickly coming, so start planning now, decorating that golf cart, car, motorcycle, bicycle, float, horse, and join us promptly at the Nutcracker parking lot between 5 and 5:30 to get registered, lined up, and allow time for the judges to make their picks. Prizes will be given in each category. And I do want to remind the first-year board members, y'all are the judges on this contest, so please mark your calendars accordingly. Thank you. That is my report for Sports and Rec.
Any comments or questions for Sports and Rec? Just one about the street dance this Sunday. You can purchase your tickets now at the front desk. Avoid the lines and purchase them early and save yourself a lot of time. And we have a great band, so I hope to see you Sunday.
Okay, now on to entertainment. Pecan's Got Talent was a huge success. I'm very excited about this. Who knew we had such caliber of talent in Pecan among our neighbors? Monty Lewis and Barbara Wilson, that's who knew. And we had a full house. Everyone stayed to the end. They were dancing and singing, and it was just the best show ever. Our unique car show started on a beautiful day in Pecan as cars started rolling into the parking lot of the PAC. We had approximately 50. There's a varying number there because there were so many Corvettes there that some of us just didn't get a good count. Cars not only from Pecan, but also from 2 Granbury car clubs. So we are expanding just a little, allowing others in, being more of a total community. Broke records for attendance and food sales. Wonderful day. Kudos to Ron Bernier and Barbara Wilson. Committee members are busy working on their entry for the 4th of July parade. There will be a big surprise in store for those that see us coming down the road. The committee is also planning and scheming in order to bring new and exciting events to Pecan for the upcoming year, so stay tuned. And as I always say, be sure and check your columns. Thank you.
Mr. Kamen, do you have something?
Yes, I do. I don't know the proper time to just make this a brief announcement, but I think this would be an appropriate time. The local chapter of the 99s, which is the Women's Aviation Organization, sponsors the Women's Air Force Service Pilots visit to Pecan during their reunion weekend each year at Sweetwater, the WASP Museum. We will be hosting 13 women who flew in this unique organization during World War II
at a time when we needed to supplement the men pilots who were otherwise flying combat missions. So these women are in their 90s. They will be hosted by families in the air park generally, and then we will take them from Pecan out to Sweetwater on Saturday, where they'll have their reunion. Of the over 1,000 women who participated in that program during World War II, there are only a little more than 100 still alive, and so we'll probably have 40 or 50 total out at Sweetwater, and each year we'll have a group of them stop over in Pecan. So I just went, there's an announcement on the announcement boards at the front and back entrance, and just want you to know how wonderful it is for us, this as a community, to host these really heroic people each year.
Thank you, Mr. Kamen. Any other comments, questions for entertainment or sports and rec? If not, let's move on to Joe Hartman and the Marina Committee.
I'd like to start off by thanking Daniel Van Patten and his crew for planting the flower bed by the flags and stuff at the marina. It is looking good. We have many things going on. Right now I have a list of 10 different projects that we are working on over the summer months, one of which is the planting of the oleanders along the fence line to start our coverage of the fence so people driving on the highway won't be looking into the storage area. The other part of it is that within the next few days we're going to physically take away some of the trash and stuff that we had posted in the columns that is still there, so it's going to be in the removal process. One of the other projects that we have in mind and working on is power washing and painting the gas storage tank. Mother Nature, and with its pollution and just plain old-fashioned rust, is making the tank kind of unsightly. One of the things that is ongoing is trying to get the bids for the floating dock. Right now we are still with one firm bid and now trying to get other bids. Dan, you have anything more on that one other than what we talked? Okay. I have received, or the committee has received, a list of ideas ranging for signs, fish lights, an air pumping system to increase the fish population near the docks. It is being reviewed and trying to go through and see the feasibility of each one of the recommendations from this individual. We are looking now very seriously at having a Marina Day fish fry / barbecue, depending on what we can arrange for the Labor Day weekend. Brendan just told me that it's a pretty clear weekend, and that's our target, to try to do a little bit of a fundraiser for the various small projects that we don't need to go through the normal budget process. That's all I have at this time, sir.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Hartman. Any other questions for the Marina Committee? If not, let's move on to communications. Wynette Burns.
Thank you. Communication Committee is a new committee, or a revived committee, and we had our first meeting Monday, May 23rd. Attending were, in addition to me, were Renee Garrett, who's on the committee, Brian Rogers, Ron Liddell, Sassy Papasan. Also, our staff members were Daryl Davis and David Jeffries, and Manager Michael Bartholomew. Ross Carnes is our board representative, and he was there. Also on the committee is Aaron Reed. And so we, at that meeting, established a regular time for our committee meetings, and that will be on Wednesday at 10:30 after the planning session, after this meeting. The purpose of having it at that time is to gather information at this meeting that we might need to disseminate. We looked at our policy and procedures and discussed the need to work on updating those. We discussed current modes of communication, our columns, email blasts, television station, website, electronic signs, and the new member video, we talked about how those worked and how they could be improved. We discussed possible new modes of communicating in a more timely manner. Carnes led a discussion and stressed that we need to address 3 types of communication needs: long-term, short-term, and immediate. These communications are addressed to a wide audience of our membership, staff, the larger community, and special audiences such as people looking for a wedding site or corporate retreat or golf outings. So we need to look at all the modes to communicate to those groups. We talked about including new social media modes of communication, as well as our television station, newspaper, magazines, maybe even messaging. And we discussed whether to use some of the current modes of communication that are being used by our membership that are not sanctioned by our association. Our objective is to make all the communications regular, accurate, and maybe entertaining so that we will get people interested. One thing we need from the board is, and all the committees that are here today, is input. You need to let us know what you want advertised, what events you have upcoming, what events you have successfully completed. We will be looking at the chairman of the committees and the board representatives of those committees to get us that information. As well, we will look ahead at the association calendar to see upcoming events, and we will try to aggressively seek out information from the committees regarding those events so that we can timely get those in front of the membership. This is an exciting project, and we hope all of you will get on board, because it will take all of us, I think, to do that successfully. We also discussed a Facebook page development and how social media postings could refer to our website. That is pretty much all that we discussed. We're going to follow this meeting with another meeting to continue our discussion. Are there any questions?
Yeah, I'd like to make a comment. First of all, I want to thank the people who signed up to work on the Communications Committee. This is something different. We've done different approaches to communications in the past. We're going to go back and rethink what we're doing. It's important that we get the data and we get a group of people that are willing to work on this. One of the things that we really want to work on the next couple months is each of the committees has talented people. We need to get feedback from those committees. If we aren't able to get that communication that we need from what's going on in your committees, we're going to ask that the board reps be responsible for getting that communications to us. We don't expect that each of the communications have talented writers that like to write as a course of their regular business, and we're hoping that by having people in the communications committee that can do that, we can take the information that you have and spin it in the fashion that we want to get the information out to the members of Pecan. So I just ask that the board reps, if you're on a committee, be responsive to getting us timely information so that we can include that in the communications that we put out. I look forward to working with this committee and working with Lynette. We've got some very talented people and some great ideas. Thank you.
Thank you, Ross. Thank you, Lynette. Let's move on to House and Food and Beverage. Sharon Boone.
Okay, for new people, the House and Food and Beverage Committee used to be separate committees, so they're combined now, so we've got double work for us. We had our first meeting, which was kind of a planning meeting and getting all the other stuff out of the way, like electing vice president, such as that. Lou Turner was elected vice chair, and Sassy Papasan is a voting representative from the entertainment committee. We discussed the scope of work, and then we divided into two subcommittees. The House is one of them, and Food and Beverage is the other one. The House right now will be working on ideas for the 19th hole, and short-range and long-range plans, and Food and Beverage will just be working on develop ideas, short-term and long-term, as to how to improve service and other aspects of food and beverage. We meet the second Tuesday at 9:30. The subcommittees meet at different times, and then they bring their information back to the committee. And hopefully the meetings won't take 3 or 4 hours. I want to thank Robert Kamen, who's our board rep, and Michael, Jonathan, Aaron, and Chef Thomas for all the support to this committee.
Thank you, Sharon. Any comments or questions for House Food and Beverage Committee? Ms. Burns?
I would just like to compliment everyone on the great new menu, and we've already enjoying it a great deal.
I wish we could take credit for that. That was done before we came, but hey.
Well, thank you, Ms. Burns. And that is correct. So if you haven't been up to dine lately, come up. We do have a new lunch and dinner menu, so please come up and join us. And Mr. President, I believe that concludes our committee reports for this month.
Thank you, Mr. Bartholomew. And I think that's the business at hand, and the meeting's adjourned.